Are you ready to elevate your school spirit? Look no further than onecampusco.com. Whether you're in the classroom, on the field, or cheering from the stands, we're dedicated to bringing academics, athletics, alumni, and fans together. Founded by our alumni-owned parent company, One Chapter in 2021, we recognize the need for quality apparel at reasonable prices and created a shopping experience that connects fans with their university. Join us in showcasing your pride and giving back to your community. With onecampusco.com, you're not just a student, athlete, or fan, you're part of a vibrant family. Together, let's celebrate what makes our university special. Visit us at www.charlotte.onecampusco.com using promo code HWY49 for 10% off.
Welcome back to the Highway 49 podcast. We are back with episode 98 of the show. And it's been like a month, guys. I'm not going to lie. Been a while since I've seen your faces. Jeremy, I see you at Hornets all the time. But Hannah, for you out here globetrotting, basically doing a ton of Wake Forest stuff. We got a lot going on the show today. We have women's lacrosse coach, Coach Short, on the show. We appreciate her time coming on. And yeah, let's dive into it. Best thing we've seen this week, Hannah, what you got?
Well, I guess the best thing I've seen is I've just been traveling a lot, like you said, at Wake. Last week was a whirlwind. Super, super fun week. Wake played Carolina and they played Duke all in the same week. So it was like back-to-back double header. So fun. Honestly, the games were super competitive. Even Duke, which Duke is crazy good this year, like we all know, and Wake held in there for a long time, but the crowd was awesome. The environment at the Joel on last Saturday was just so fun. It feels just like Halton when everyone's in there and getting loud, and it's just such a fun environment. And I was actually there for the women's game last night against NC State. And NC State, the women's team this year, super, super good. But the girls held in there. They lost, unfortunately. But it's just been a fun time to be in that environment, get to watch really, really good basketball, see players, you don't see all the time, and like just be in that environment. So it's been super fun. I forget we had snow last week as well. I feel like last week was such a blur, honestly. But it's been super fun. Can't wait for the continued season. They play Pittsburgh on Saturday at Wake. So it should be a really, really fun time. Jeremy, I haven't seen you in so long. What is going on? What's the best thing that you have seen this week?
This month has felt like half a year. January has been a long time. No complaints from me. I like it. It means I don't have to pay rent. Rent feels like takes
Rent
forever. But
rent check just hit today.
rent check just hit. Oh man, yeah, I gotta do that after this.
Oh,
But best thing, Fetid Moppet. I mean, Severance, the TV show,
Woo!
guys, operating on a different level right now. I remember when I was finishing season one, I was in college, 2022. Season two came out, what, 3 weeks ago? And it's just crazy to see how far I've come as a person since season one to season two, but also the show is just incredible. And I got a text from Matt Alkiza Hunter right before this. He said, "Don't step foot in the Spectrum Center tonight unless you've caught up on Severance." So I know Hornets tonight will be discussing all the theories, but just seeing, I mean, the cinematography, Ben Stiller, the acting, everything is 10 out of 10. And I can't wait to talk about it with you later. Hunter, wrap us off, man. What is the best thing you've seen this week?
I do gotta say, Jeremy did overlook a giant thing that he did this week. He got the Q&A in with JJ Redick, and he asked LeBron Goat James a question at the Spectrum Center, man.
okay.
Just tell us about that real quick, man, for real.
Thank you for passing me a lob there, looking like CP and Blake back in 2014. But I mean, it was really cool. It's kind of crazy how I remember being a kid watching LeBron in '07, being on the Cavs in his first stint, watching JJ Redick, and now you're kind of walking into those rooms, and we've had this discussion before where it's not like, oh my God, that's LeBron James now. Oh my God, that's JJ Redick. This is our jobs, right? Like my job
Yep.
is to go in there and ask them questions and to get their response. And you kind of have to overcome that, holy moly, this is King James, whatever. But at the same time, it'll always be there because you'll walk into that Lakers locker room, you see Brown, you see AD, and at that point, it just becomes like, this is really what I dreamed of doing, for the past decade. So it's cool to see those things come to fruition. But Hunter, you did it last year, man. So I'm just evening up the playing field, man. But I appreciate it. We got Clippers tonight. And then Jokic is in town on Saturday. So just looking forward to this homestand with the Hornets. Of course, the injury trouble isn't the best, but first world problem. Still covering the NBA. Can't be too upset about it.
Yeah, no doubt. Nah, the when you talk to someone that you like grew up watching or idolizing or something, your hands are sweating, your pits are probably sweating, your heart's beating fast. You're just like, man, I'm really here. I'm doing this. But it does help out in the other side of things too. When you're not talking to the goat of a sport, it helps you, brings you down to that level of like, okay, this is just another person I'm talking to. So I think that really is beneficial. But yeah, no, it's a ton of fun being in those rooms and getting to talk to those folks. But best thing I've seen this week, guys, I can't really complain about anything. Life has been great lately. Probably been the busiest I've ever been at my full-time job, which comes with pros and cons. That's part of why this pod has been sparsed out, not as many episodes. But overall, life is good. My brother's coming to town next week. Best friend's coming to town, so I get to watch the Super Bowl, watch my team with two of my best friends. I won't be at the Nuggets game Saturday anniversary with my girl, so we'll be off frolicking, doing whatever you would do on your anniversary. So looking forward to that. But yeah, best thing is just everything's going smooth. It's been a nice off season as far as football goes. Hornets are still in full effect in the middle of a homestand right now, but yeah, a ton of fun. While I mentioned the Super Bowl, I do want to get y'all's picks real fast. You know who I'm picking. I'll talk about it in a second. But Hannah, you, then Jeremy, tell us who you're taking in the Super Bowl down in New Orleans.
Yeah, I am taking the Eagles. So fly, Eagles, fly, I guess. I mean, I can't root for the Chiefs. I just don't want to see another Chiefs win. No hate for anybody who is a Chiefs fan. I just am kind of tired of them always being at the top. I like a good underdog story. Not that the Eagles are an underdog, but I like a new champion every single time. I think it keeps it fresh. Obviously, the Chiefs are good, but I don't think they've been that good this season. That's my hot take. I mean, when the Panthers almost beat up on the Chiefs,
Panthers almost beat the Eagles too, dude.
I know. I know. I'm just saying, have we looked at the colors for the Super Bowl logo next year? It's all in the writing. It's all in the writing.
Bills Lions.
Yeah. Oh man, I saw a video of like a Kansas City, there were fountains in Kansas City spewing up water, and the water was red. Like they dyed the water red. And I'm like, dang, they already sacrificed the goats. I don't understand. The blood sacrifice has been made. Devil magic is in full effect.
Uh,
Hunter, I get you're an Eagles fan, and I hope you win, but I can't I can't go against what I mean, history is what we're seeing right now. The chance to three-peat, the chance to do something that no other team has ever done. With that being said, I mean, Saquon, it's so funny. I'm watching the games with my roommates, and the first touch, this guy takes it and goes yard. And we're just watching it like, imagine being Joe Schoen, the GM of the Giants and the owner, and they're just like, what did we do? We gave him not only to a different team, to a division rival that we have to play twice a year, and he's going to be amped up every time he suits up against us. And to see them have this immediate success, but I mean, Saquon, great player, great guy. It's great to see what he's doing now. Great stories with the Eagles. I mean, shout out to AJ Brown and making that guy a millionaire overnight with the book. What's it called? Like Inner Excellence
Yeah.
or whatever. So it's just really good stories. And, a lot of people are going to have these takes about the NFL being rigged, which is lunacy to me. But we're seeing the two best teams in the Super Bowl. That's what we're getting. And although we've seen it before 2 years ago, I think this is the best matchup we're going to get. With that being said, again, I cannot bet against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo drawing up those blitzes, and Travis Kelce. So my pick, Chiefs, and I'm going to take them with the spread, which is what, -2.5. Sorry, Hunter.
Yeah, it'd be like that. Yeah, the Eagles have to stop the biggest proposal in mankind after the game.
Literally.
So yeah, we can't let that happen. But I do want to shout out three Charlotte area kids who will be playing that Super Bowl. Landon Dickerson for the Eagles, O lineman. He was, if you watched the NFC Championship game, he was battling injury the whole game. He played in Hickory back in high school. Jordan Davis, and then Will Shipley out here getting peanut punches on kick returns and scoring touchdowns in the playoffs. And I know you love that. That's a Clemson boy.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love
no doubt I'm rooting for the Eagles, but I did see a stat, and it's very troubling that Patrick Mahomes is 8-0 against Vic Fangio-led defenses. So I couldn't sleep thinking about that, so I researched it, and yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking. But Pat Mahomes has scored 27 points a game against Vic Fangio-led defenses, but Fangio has never had a defense like this. What you got, Jeremy?
Are you just because there's 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and at a certain point, you're like, I don't want to hear any more analysis. It's been 12, 14 days. Can we just get to the game? Are you, locked in, listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, recaps, locked on Eagles stuff, or are you just like, I'm going into a sleep deprivation tank. I will go into hibernation for the next week, and I'll come back out on Sunday morning for the game. What's your philosophy with this game?
Yeah, so I like to listen to like I want to know the X's and O's of the game, right? I want to dive in and figure out what are the matchups, who are the biggest
Nina
matchups on the
Kimes, Nina
field.
Kimes, where you
Yeah.
at,
So I listen to the Green Light podcast hosted by Chris Long, longtime Ram, really won a Super Bowl with the Patriots and then with the Eagles. He does a great breakdown. And honestly, I've like stolen questions from him before talking to guys that play on the edge. I listen to a lot of that, but I'm kind of getting to the point. Like last Sunday, I took a nap before the game so I could just wake up in the game, be there. Like I was just ready to know. Uh, so yeah, like I say, I'm excited, and you wear the same jersey. I'm not superstitious, but maybe a little bit stitious. I'm 1-0 watching Super Bowls, Eagles Super Bowls with my brother. He's flying in, so excited, man. We'll see about it. Sticking on the NFL front. The only point prop I'll give you in that game is bet the Eagles team total over 23.5. That's what I'm doing. You can steal mine. I can't see how they score less than that. Staying in the NFL, Steve Wilks just took a job on Aaron Glenn's staff as the Jets defensive coordinator. Super excited for Coach Wilks. Obviously, spent time in Carolina. Could have, would have, and probably should have had that head coaching job a couple seasons ago. He was on Charlotte's staff this past season. Well, I guess not technically. He was a volunteer special advisor to Biff Poggi and the 49ers. So super excited for Steve to get that opportunity. We'll see what happens with the Jets. It was kind of rough there last year, but I think Steve is kind of that culture guy that can help turn the corner there. One other note with NFL talk, Stone Handy, Charlotte's Edge, declared for the draft, I think last night. Shout out to Stone. He was a top 100 ranked player coming out of high school. Was a little bit up and down through college, but definitely looking forward to seeing that. And while we're talking about championship games, I do got to shout out my guy Nick Murphy. He was director of player personnel at Charlotte in 2021 on Will Healy's staff. Goes to Ohio State in his third year. Third year is the charm for him there. They win the national championship, and he's the assistant director of recruiting strategy for them. So I got to shout out my guy Nick. And then one more thing before we round this out and get to Coach Short, Jeremy and Hannah. LaMelo Ball snubbed as an all-star. I'm curious, Jay first, and then Hannah. What are your kind of thoughts on that, knowing that he was the number one vote getter from fans for guards in the East?
I guess for me, it kind of sucks to say, but the media vote matters, and I don't agree with him not. He only got 3 media votes, which is insane. But
I wish I knew. I wish they
even
would release who gets these votes.
they need to for every sport. With the Hall of Fame, and Ichiro Suzuki is one vote away from being a unanimous Hall of Famer, and they don't release who that person is. Out of 397, 396 people said, "Oh yeah, he's a Hall of Famer," and one guy was like, I don't know. We need to know who that guy is. But for LaMelo, and this sucks to say, I think the interview stuff, I think it impacts this.
gonna
If
say that.
you have a franchise player for a team and some reporters are like, I'd rather have Josh Green in the interview than LaMelo Ball, or, people want to write stories and do all these things to cover you, and you're not getting that reciprocation. And let me make this clear, he has no obligation to talk to us or be forthcoming or do whatever. But I do think the voters are human people who some of them might be resentful because of that. And I think that did play a part. I mean, if you're third in fan voting or first in fan voting, you're third in what player voting,
Yeah.
and you don't make the All-Star team, and respectfully, Tyler Hero makes it over you, something's up. But with that being said, I mean, reminds me of Bradley Beal a few years ago, who's averaging 30 points per game. The Wizards are a terrible bottom feeder team, and he doesn't make the All-Star team for the same reason. And it just stinks too because he got injured again, left ankle sprain. He's out for a week. Well, he'll be reevaluated in a week. So it just seems like that injury also could have just been like an extra little tick on the last straw that broke the camel's back for maybe why he didn't make it. But when you think about the NBA and you think about entertainment and who you want to watch on a night-to-night basis, LaMelo's got to be in the top 10 of players. So it is baffling. We'll be there. We'll definitely ask coach pregame and the players after the game what their thoughts on it are. Saw Mark Williams be like, dude, this is crazy. Saw Miles Bridges tweet out, wow, this is insane. But that's the thing. The NBA is so deep now where you're gonna have types of players that are snubbed every single year, and this year just happened to be LaMelo Ball.
In every sport, likability is such a big thing. And that's also how you are as a person and your character. And when you're as good as a player as LaMelo Ball, if you're not a leader for your team and you're not showing that you are a team player as well as being good at your sport, I think that takes into account for a lot of fans and a lot of people in these votes. And he wasn't a part of the season for a lot of the time because he's been injured so many times. I think that also takes an effect as well because if you're not out there playing, then how do you expect to get votes as well if you're not healthy? But I think for him specifically, I think yes, he is so good. I mean, watching him do things that other people can't do, like, yeah, but I think he knows that as well. And I think it's that flashiness that he has that does set him apart, but I think that hurts him a little bit in retrospect. That's just kind of my take on it. I feel like the guys that get the most votes are guys that people tend to, really like. They like their character, they like how they lead the team, they like how they're a team player, they like how they pass the ball, they like how they continue to show up and show out, even if they're on the bench, they're still at the game, despite being injured. So I think it's all about character too.
I was talking to a someone who works for the Hornets close, was with the team every single day in and day out, and she told me like LaMelo is so funny. Like when you're around him and the cameras aren't there, the stuff he says, it kind of reminds you of like when you have a kid and the kid's saying like something bad, but it's so funny that you're trying not to laugh because you're encouraging it, right?
Yeah.
So LaMelo, the person, is a really likable guy. It's not like the likability. The fans love him. It's just that I wish he would show that side when the cameras were also on. It's like
Yeah.
an on-off switch where everyone loves LaMelo. You don't hear anyone say anything bad about him. But then when we're trying to, convey that to other people, that's when it shuts down. And I just wish that was a constant thing rather than, oh, because at practice, this guy will, yo, how you doing, man? You good? Dap me up. Hey, what's happening with you? Everything cool? And then you see him in the interview and it's like a whole different person. And there's nothing wrong with that again, because you're entitled to do whatever you want.
Right.
But in a landscape where people are giving you votes kind of based off of that too, sometimes it might be to your own detriment.
Yeah, and to speak to kind of like the not two types of person, but two, I guess, types of thought. LaMelo, we joke about getting 2 or 3 sentence answers from him in the media room. Can you get responses like that? Can you get him to elaborate on something, whether it was a play in the game or something going on off the court? And then you have the other side of him where he's donating over 200,000 meals to pets for the
Right.
Humane Society when it's like giving back to the community, giving back to something that he cares about. And that's all completely separate of his talent on the court, which is undoubtable. He does take a lot of shots, though. You got that is out there. But
12 3-pointers a game, shooting 33% as a clip.
Yeah. But I mean, you're right. When you are one of the top fan vote getters for a fan-driven event like the All-Star game, you would think maybe they should rethink how that works. But then again, there are some guys, Devin Booker, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, that aren't going to be there. So it's not just him. I didn't even mention Trey Young. Quite a few
You
big
see
name
what Trey
stars.
said? He was like, it's not even called a snub anymore. It's called you got trade because he gets snubbed every single year.
Yeah. So definitely something to work towards. I think everything that you guys mentioned is plays a role in that availability, how you handle media situations, and then overall your play on the court. Uh, Definitely something to watch moving forward because when you look at this team, injuries are piling up now. It's nothing new. It's a CVS receipt. It's what it's really been for the past couple seasons. Still got some fun games. We talked about it earlier. Clippers in town tonight. Nuggets in town tomorrow. Wemby and the Spurs next week. Giannis and the Bucks. And we still got Steph Curry to come in March. So a ton of fun games coming to the Spectrum Center. A ton of fun teams, and definitely looking forward to that. One more thing for spring ball for Charlotte football. That's coming soon, guys. I don't have an exact date yet. As soon as I have that information, I'll pass that along. But they're already getting player led and strength conditioning workouts going on out there. Definitely looking forward to meeting some of these guys, new players, the full staff, and bringing that content because it's been a while. I'm not really getting the itch for football yet because it's still going. But as soon as it's over, I know it'll come back. So definitely looking forward to that and appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get to Coach Short, but we really appreciate y'all tuning in to the Highway 49 podcast. We'll be back soon.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Highway 49 podcast. We are here with the first ever Charlotte women's lacrosse head coach, Claire Short. Claire, thank you so much for joining us on the Highway 49 podcast. How you doing?
Course. Yeah, I'm doing great. Doing great. Just getting ready for our season to start here in the next week and just excited to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's kick it off. You were brought on in June of last year. Walk us through the interview process and what that was like for you and kind of the moment you got the call knowing that you were going to come here to Charlotte and be the first ever head coach for women's lacrosse.
Yeah. So it was actually June 2022. So it's been actually 2.5 years. And the interview process was great. I mean, I had been in the Charlotte area for 10 years prior to taking this job at other universities in the area coaching lacrosse. And so really, it always kind of had this university in the back of my mind of just if they ever add lacrosse, I'm definitely going to apply. And so when the job opportunity arose, I applied and had my whole interview process. And I had been on campus probably once prior to that, but was fully blown away once I stepped onto campus. I mean, this campus is gorgeous. It's kind of to me like a hidden gem, just because in the lacrosse world, no one knows about this school yet. They will obviously know about it after this season. But just the feeling of how much of a potential success this program could have was really kind of like my final decision in taking this job over.
So, coach, a coach is only as good as the staff around them. Can you walk us through the process of selecting the other skill development and assistant coaches that are able to take some of the weight off of your shoulders and alleviate some of that responsibility?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am a huge advocate of I don't know all the answers. So I make sure that I hire the best assistants. So I brought on my assistant that I had had at my previous school, Sarah Staggard. And so she came with me in June 22 as well. And she is the attacking coach, attacking minded coach. I am the defensive coordinator. So I also like to make sure that all positions are accounted for in terms of coaching. And then she and I were here for the first year only recruiting. She's a great recruiter. She knows the talent and knows what we need to be very successful, knows the game very well. And just personality wise, we get along so great. She's one of the hardest workers I know for sure and always puts the team first. So then after a year, I hired on Kendall Goldblum, and she is coming from a Division 1 background. So Sarah and I actually have played Division 2 back in college. So having Kendall's experience from the Division 1 world, not only as a player but as a coach as well, just gave us a little bit of an extra oomph. She knows and has seen that play, like style of play, and just kind of knows the ins and outs of that world. So she is also the most organized person I know. And so she keeps me in line, and she's like, hey, coach, we got this next week. We got this next week. So it's great to have her on staff. She's been a huge, great asset to us. And it's just been a pleasure. And she works with our goalies. So she is our goalie coach. She's also kind of an attacking floater coach as well. She played midfield in college, so she can kind of go through all the out of the areas. And then lastly, I do have a part-time assistant, Christy Kemp, who has been with me since I think it's been like 6 years. She and I actually played against each other in college. We didn't find that out until later on in life. But she graduated from Queens, which is where I used to coach. And she lives in the area. And then so her position wise, she coaches the draw circle and the girls that take the draw. And she'll run my mid box, my middies and my sub box. But obviously I have a great relationship with her. I can trust and respect her because we've just worked together for so long. So it's a really great staff. And I'm sorry if that was a very long answer, but I just wanted to make sure I checked all the boxes there.
No, not at all. I wanted to stay there for a second. You mentioned how you have an attacking coach and one for the goalies, one for the draw. You're a defensive-minded head coach. How do you guys bounce ideas off each other and try to make sure you have the best product on field for the players?
Yeah, so again, I love to collaborate with my assistants. Again, I don't know all the answers, and so we collaborate every single day, leading into our practice about our practice plans, what the attack needs, what the defense needs, maybe what the drills that we need to accomplish that day. And really just bouncing the ideas off of each other and making sure that we are putting together a really strong plan. I think all of us are really strategic in how we plan our practices and how we even plan our weeks. Maybe it's like PTSD, but I've had some interesting coaches in my day, and so have they, of like the coaches just show up and they're like, okay, let's do this. Like, I'm not that at all. I'm a huge planner. I think just in general of athletics, we plan our lives like 6 months in advance because we know we have recruiting trips coming up, or we have, season coming up, those types of things. So we plan our weeks out in terms of our practice planning. And again, so we're very strategic about like, what are we still missing? What do we still need to set aside for next week? But yeah, I love collaborating with both of my full-time assistants and my part-time. They're all so knowledgeable about the game, and they just love it.
Absolutely. And you talked a little bit a minute ago about what kind of drew you to Charlotte. But I'm curious to take a look back at your time at Queens and Lenore Ryan and the state of North Carolina. What were those years like for you, and how did that kind of shape you into the coach you are today?
Yeah, that was awesome. So I fortunately had two great head coaches above me when I was an assistant coach. I started out at Randolph-Macon, which is in Virginia, at the Division 3 level. Being a D2 kid, I kind of wanted to get back to that D2 world. And so when the opportunity came about to be the assistant at Queens initially, North Carolina is such an amazing state. I had used to like vacation here as a family, when I was younger, and then had never really came or been visiting to the city of Charlotte. But I came and I was like, wait, I'm not a city girl, but this is pretty cool. Just in general, like my person, my social life and personality. So fell in love with the city, just everything that it has to offer. I think being at Queens kind of taught me how much of just the city can provide for a student athlete, and, the resources that it has, the networking that it has, and not just within their 4 years of college, but the aftermath of it. So any, internship that they have in the city, they then would network and probably get a job offer, right as soon as they graduated. So that was really intriguing to me, just to have potential to not only further their lacrosse career for those 4 years, but further their, career afterwards. And then shaping me into the head coach that I am now. Definitely trials and tribulations, that's for sure. I mean, I was 24 years old when I first got my head coaching job at Lenore-Rhyne. I think I have a 24-year-old student athlete right now. So like thinking back, I'm like, I was so young, so young, which was again a learning curve. I mean, at the time, I think there was a girl that was 23 years old on my team. And I was only a year older than her, being her head coach. I definitely was ready to take on that position, but you just never know until you know. So being a head coach is way different than an assistant coach. You have obviously a lot more pressure on you. And so I learned a lot in my 2 years there at Lenore-Rhyne. But I think what really got me into being a very successful coach is just my competitive nature. Back in college as a player, we were very successful. We would win our conference a lot. We would go to NCAAs. And so that is just what I have always known. And that's what I wanted to achieve as a coach as well. So getting to Queens as a head coach and being there for 6 years, there was kind of just no option besides winning. And so that's just always been my mentality. I come from a very big family. I have 5 siblings who all played college athletics. And so we are very, very competitive against each other growing up. So I think all of that combined has just really molded me into the coach that I am today.
Well, you can't be a coach without the players on your roster. When you first were announced the head coach, you brought in 14 freshmen, 13 transfers. What was that like recruiting, girls to be on your team, and how are they shaping up and gelling so far before the season starts?
Yeah. It's been a really fun journey. I love recruiting. And my first boss when I was the head coach at Lenore-Rhyne, the AD, he always told me, always remember this, recruiting never sleeps. And it is so, so true. You constantly have to be recruiting, whether that's on the phone or in person. But recruiting to me is a win. When we get a commit, I'm like, yes, like we got one. It's really like a very kind of competitive thing for me. I think of it as like when people have, typical jobs, corporate jobs, they make a big sale. Same for us. We get the sale, we get the commit. But it's been really great just to recruit these athletes. And so the first initial commits that we had, we literally had to just get them to envision what this program could look like. So it was all based off of my vision and what I was telling them, because we didn't have a locker room at the time. We weren't really sure where we were practicing or playing our games. And so for me, I recruited them off of, no matter what we have, guys, we're going to be successful and we're going to win, because I want that to be a competitive nature. And so they really did want to buy into that. I think initially too, all of them saw the potential of like how amazing it can be to make history. And I think I sold them on, all right, 20 years from now, you're going to come back to our stadium and be announced as the first inaugural team. And like, how amazing is that? Not a lot of other people can get to say that they did that. And the athletes that we committed really wanted that, outlook in their career here at, UNC Charlotte for lacrosse.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about, when you first start up a team and then you get preseason accolades. I mean, Lily Barger was named the AAC preseason all-conference team, but she's also a local girl. She's from Matthews, North Carolina. I'm curious what it's like for her to be able to stay at home and play in front of family, the kind of excitement that she has being at Charlotte now.
Yeah, so I've obviously known her name for a while, just me being in the city. And we have scrimmaged against her previous schools. So, I've seen her previously and playing. I know she's a stud and knew she was a stud back then. So when she went into the portal, it was very exciting for us and reached out to her right away. But yeah, for her, I mean, she has just said like, it is so amazing to just be right down the road from my parents. She'll go there probably like weekly on like a Sunday night dinner type of thing. She's got a brother still in high school. So, just to have that family connection 30 minutes down the road was awesome for her and something that she wanted out of her next school. But yeah, just having like the local fans for her to be supported, I think is really awesome. And it also goes to show with lacrosse being not as popular down here in the South and in North Carolina, it shows that like we do have the talent and it'll only continue to grow with certain athletes like, student athletes like Lily. And obviously our program starting up, it will continue to grow down here in the high school levels, the middle school levels, and the youth leagues.
No doubt. Yeah, there's nothing like that home cooked meal going back home during college. So I
Yes,
totally
I'm
get
sure.
that. So I know you guys have an exhibition, I think tomorrow.
Yeah.
And our guy Jeremy here is a big on this date person. So February 8th, Gardner Webb. What is how exciting is that for you for that to be your first game as a head coach with this program and then for your players to take the field for that first time?
Yeah, so we got that booked last year, probably about this time. So even the few girls that we had on campus last year, we had already announced that date, and so we've been waiting for an entire year to finally play that first game. And obviously, me and my coaches have been waiting 2.5 years. So the feeling is incredible. I mean, just to be able to showcase all the talent and the hard work that these women have put in to just, have that in front of their, family and friends and even new fans too, I think is really, really exciting. And we're all just so pumped about it. I think for these student athletes, they have been to, previous schools, different institutions, but they have so much Niner pride now, even after only being here for 4 or 5 months, last semester, that they really just are so excited to have the Charlotte Niner fans back them up.
With the start of the season, you mentioned your vision. I'm curious, what is your vision for this first year and kind of the pitch that you sold while you were recruiting?
Yeah, winning.
Of course.
Yeah, no, like truly, I think that might be hard for people to kind of grasp because we are a brand new program. People like to put a brand new program kind of on the bottom of the totem pole just because they don't have any history, they don't have any record. They are just a hodgepodge of girls coming together. But my vision is to be very competitive, not only in the conference, but eventually in the whole Division I world. I had said that on my interview to Mike Hill. I'm going to win championships. We're going to be very successful. It's not going to be an easy road, but we're going to get there. So even for this initial year, we're going to compete to get to the conference tournament this year, which would be a huge statement for us. And again, not that it's going to come easy. We've got to do a lot of back work, not only right now, but in all the games leading up to any conference play. But that's really what my vision and my outlook was and what the goals that I wanted to achieve. And so all the athletes that we committed even this summer from the portal felt the same way. I mean, they've been either at a school that has won, or maybe they were at a school that didn't win or didn't even get to the tournament. And that's just something obviously that every athlete wants to achieve. And to have 28 girls all on the same page will absolutely be a game changer in making that happen.
I'm really glad you said that because inaugural season, you're talking about excitement, but you also want to, say, hey, we're not just here to have a feel-good story, right? We're here to win, we're here to compete. My question for you, coach, is that you hear buzzwords like culture in sports a lot, but it does hold weight. Players should be able to be held to high standards, and in turn, the team can match that level of expectation. But for you, what is the identity that you want Charlotte Lacrosse to be known for? How do you want this team to be viewed?
Yeah, so it's actually one of our core values, which is sisterhood. I am huge on building a culture, and we did dedicate a lot of time in the fall. We continue to dedicate time to each other this spring. But I've seen it firsthand. If you have a connection and a sisterhood and that bond off the field, it absolutely translates onto the field. So maybe in a game, an opponent that you're playing is bigger, faster, stronger. But if they don't have each other's backs and they won't ride or die for each other, then they will diminish their win or their success. So we really have, put in a lot of effort and energy to getting to just know each other. I mean, we were all brand new, coming into September, and it's, been a lot of work, a lot of hard work, but the girls are dedicated to, just finding out, just backgrounds of each other. What do they like? What do they prefer? What ticks them off? Those types of things. And so really that connection has been building, and it will continue to build. We still need to put in the work. But yeah, that's sisterhood. I mean, I want these women to walk away after 4 years of lacrosse, because not a lot of them will be involved in lacrosse after 4 years. But I want them to walk away with, I've got sisters, and what a strong alumni base this will be. And that support will continue for years to come. And I think that just comes from my college experience. My teammates are still my best friends till this day. They were in my wedding. Like, we just literally had a group chat yesterday of like 28 different women from my Lock Haven lacrosse group. And we're all trying to go to like a concert in August. So, and all of us, of course, are saying like, yes, yes, we'll go, we'll go. So I want that for these women, because it isn't just about the wins and losses. And honestly, years to come, they might remember what that one game was, but they will truly remember the bond and the sisterhood. And that just molds them as a person. That just molds their relationships for the years to come.
You mentioned how the coaching staff balances ideas, among each other. Can you talk about how the players can do that as well, where you have an attacker and a defender saying, hey, you might have this tip, even though we're competing against each other on a day-to-day basis, this could help you on a game day.
Yeah, I think honestly, we're more fortunate than maybe some other teams, because a lot of our transfers have so many different backgrounds. And whether they learn something that they don't want to use from that old school or vice versa, I just think really like they have so much knowledge of the game. A lot of them are a little bit older, so they've been playing for 3 or 4 plus years. And so they do bounce each other, or bounce ideas off of each other. And they really compete against each other every single day. But at the end of the day, they know that, okay, that girl is on my team at least, right? Like, she may have dusted me in a defensive set, but she's on my team and she'll be scoring for me on Saturday.
Now, you talk a little bit about your siblings. You have five siblings, all who played college athletics. I'm curious what that household was like, because you said you were competitive. Just talk to us a little bit about that dynamic.
Yeah. So I was the only lacrosse person.
Okay.
So everyone else played basketball and soccer. My dad did play lacrosse in college, so that's where I picked it up from. But yeah, I mean, growing up, 6 kids in a household can be crazy and chaotic. And it wouldn't just be like sports that we were competing against. I mean, I was competing to get another helping of dinner, right? Like, if there was one more taco, we were all fighting for the last taco. So little things like that. I mean, it was just so fun to be surrounded by really strong athletes, knowledgeable, mentally and physically tough. My one brother, so it was 4 girls and 2 boys. My one brother was a collegiate basketball coach for women for a few years too. So kind of just cool that we all ended up a little bit more in the sports world. My youngest sister actually, and I just like to always shout her out because she's amazing. She is handicapped, and she ended up playing wheelchair basketball and won a gold medal at the Paralympics. So she is incredible. And I'm always like, she's the best athlete out of all of us for sure. So just really cool to like see the success that my siblings had throughout the years. But yes, we would always be in the backyard playing any type of sport, competing against each other. And we really had like our own basketball team half the time.
Do they ever come to any of your games at like your experienced previous games at Lenore Ryan, like when you first started at Queens? Like, are they always there supporting you in the stands?
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, we're from Maryland, so we all have kind of like lived different areas, but I have 2 sisters that live here in town, which is awesome. So yeah, they usually come to our games, and my parents now live at the beach, so they're only 3 hours away. So they'll definitely come out to support us, and they'll be here next Saturday.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another kind of fun question. So you guys are nearing that point of being in the grind of the regular season, but I'm curious, is there someone on the team, if you need a good laugh, who are you going to for that laugh?
Oh my gosh, Katie Lang for sure. She's our goalie. And then Carson Corbett. Those two girls can crack me up anytime. They're just super like silly, goofy, always have a positive attitude. They're just putting a smile on everyone's face. And it's those types of people that we need every once in a while because some of our girls can be very serious and they're like, no, we need to do this. We need to do this. I'm like, guys, this is supposed to be fun. So yeah, it's really nice to have those two. But yeah, they crack me up and they're just hilarious.
As you near the start of the season, for the listeners and those who don't know, where will you guys be playing your games, and how much would it mean for your team to have the support of Niner Nation in the stands?
Oh my gosh, it would mean so, so much. And that is really actually another goal of ours. So we will be playing all home games at Jerry Richardson Stadium. And it's incredible to have that stadium and honestly a perk just to have, everything that the football team usually gets to use. We're going to be using it as well. So for our home games, we're even using the smoke machines and we're going to be running out of that tunnel. So we're really looking forward to that. But yes, just the support of Niner Nation to back us up. We are a brand new sport for sure. And as I said earlier, lacrosse might not be as popular down here in the South. So maybe we don't know the rules or know the lay of the land of the game as fans, but trust me, it's a beautiful game. And it's so fun. It's so energetic, high scoring. It's just so fun to watch. And so I really think if the fans come out to even the first game, they'll end up falling in love with the sport just as we did. That first initial game next Saturday, February 8th, 2025, is huge for us. We would love to have so much support from Niner Nation. And honestly, we're trying to break a record of an inaugural game. And right now from our research, it was about 1,200 at the Clemson's first inaugural game a couple years ago. And we would love to surpass that. I think that would be huge. That would make a statement and just show that North Carolina has really good lacrosse. And we're going to showcase that the whole year long.
No doubt. And on the flip side of that, you talked a little bit about your goals this season, your goals for the program. What can Niner Nation expect from you guys this year out on the field?
Yeah, I mean, again, we want to be very successful. We want to compete in non-conference games. Those are important too. I mean, we've got a full schedule in terms of February and March. A little bit in the beginning of March is all non-conference games, and those are the games that you really learn a lot from. And you have to compete every single day and be present in the moment, not looking forward to the next game or the next opponent. Like it's got to be in moment, put your feet or, your money where your mouth is and where your feet are. So we're going to be very successful in those non-conference games for sure. Obviously, when conference play starts, and that's in the middle of March and into April, we've got one game a week. And so just putting a ton of time and effort into watching film, scouting each team. We want to be very successful and win those games. So we want to be in the conference tournament at the end of the season. And everyone has that on their mindset. And that's a goal that we're going to achieve.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Short, we appreciate the time and definitely looking forward to seeing you guys on campus.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. And I'm counting on you three to be there next Saturday as well.
Absolutely. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.